if you haven't seen, we already did an interview with Adam Drake on the channel, but here is an exclusive Q&A where my Patreon and community members on YouTube have asked a bunch of different questions. And so let's bring Adam on and grill him with all these questions that you guys have. Starting out first with Joanna from Patreon. Thank you so much for the support. It's amazing. Thank you, thank you, thank you. She says, is there a particular passage in the Bible that you wish you could have done for The Chosen but were unable to?
Oh, interesting. Well, see, I don't get those choices. That's definitely Dallas and the and the writing team. Man, I was just thinking about this the other day, though. A story I wish we had done. Oh, I think it would have been a lot of fun to do when he cast the demon out into the pigs. It would have been fun to do. When I forget which the verse is, but when he casts the demons out into the pigs and sends them into the water, that'd have been fun to do.
Yeah, especially with Legion. I think the reason why it's not in the show is probably because it's the whole Mary thing is kind of close with the 7 demons versus like a whole bunch of demons, I guess. So yeah, I get that for sure. Next up is Lisa Daniels, and she says, what scene was most personally impactful for you and why?
I share this on I think I shared this on the Brosen podcast, didn't I, Brandon? When Jesus calls Simon. So that was like and maybe, I don't know, maybe it's not the most impactful, but I just remember it was the first one where I was like, wow, what we're doing is no joke. But anyways, in the scene where Jesus calls Simon, he just caught all the fish. He jumps, he steps onto the land, and he's kneeled down in front of Jesus, and Jesus leans in and just says, follow me. And I'm so obviously when you watch the show, right, we have all the things to give you the feels. We got music playing. You're in the close-up of a beautiful actor that's doing a great performance, doing all those things. The first time I saw it, it was a rehearsal, and we're shooting a wide shot. So I'm like 50 feet away from Jonathan and Shahar, and they're just rehearsing. And so I can't even see their faces really. But the first time they rehearse it, and Jonathan steps in and says, follow me, I lost it. I'm like crying hysterically because it just felt like that moment when Jesus called me and said, follow me. And I was just like, what is happening right now? Right. Couldn't even explain it. But so so I always look back at that moment and just think, man, like that's how I knew from early on that the Lord was moving in the show, and there was just like so many cool things we were doing. Yeah.
That's awesome. Sarah Jane says, of course, to give a little bit of background, Adam started out in kind of an acting role in a couple of different things. So this question kind of goes along with that, which is great. Which part would you really like to play if given an opportunity? A disciple, Quintus, Gaius, Andrew? I have directed Christian projects and did acting in projects. What does directing allow creatively? So kind of some different questions there, but who would you like to play in The Chosen given an opportunity?
I don't know that I've been asked that. Man, I relate to Simon Peter the most. Now, could I play that? No. I mean, I'm a white American and don't look the role at all. But that would, and nor do I think I could even come close to pulling it off like Shahar. He's incredible. But that role would be so much fun to play because I feel so relatable to it. Like it relates to me and it hits me personally. So of course that would be really fun to explore and to try. Now, realistically, what role would I like to play in The Chosen? Man, I'd love to just be a Roman and have like a couple lines, like to interact with one of the disciples and tell him to shut up or something. Like that'd be fun. If I just had like a quick small role of just like bullying one of the disciples, that'd be fun. That's something more realistic.
Yeah. Okay. We got one from Debbie, and she says, has Adam being involved with The Chosen drawn him even closer to Jesus?
Oh, for sure. I mean, so besides the fact that, we didn't touch on this, but everything I had done before The Chosen was just movies. I'd never worked on a television show. And so a movie takes 6 to 8 weeks. The Chosen shoots for 80 days plus 30 to 40 days of prep for me. I'm basically gone 5 to 6 months for The Chosen. I have 5 kids at home and a wife that stays at home, and I live in Tennessee. The show shoots in Texas and Utah. So the show in itself for me is extremely challenging on my family, on me, our marriage, our kids, all that. And so of course we've had to grow in that, and and my family's had to learn that also that I'm not just called to work on The Chosen, but they are too. Now their calling may look different, right? They're serving at home and being a part of sharing it that way. But of course, me being gone that much with 5 kids at home is a massive challenge. And so yeah, our faith has grown, no doubt, because I also a big believer in that you grow in suffering, or that you grow you don't grow on the mountaintop, you grow in the valleys. And so
100%.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, really, really cool. Same for me and Vanessa. We moved here to Tennessee about 2 years ago. It's the first time we've never had like that huge church and family kind of safety net. So we really had to like look at each other and be like, do we like each other? Yeah, we do. But this is really hard, for sure. So I totally understand that. What are your main influences? This is from He Will Add 65. What are your main influences when it comes to directing and how you direct or how you view directing?
Right. So
if you guys have not heard about Artsabox, we talk about Artsabox, a couple of times, every other month or so. These come out once a quarter. I love these boxes. This box in particular, you can see, has the Israeli flag on it, and this box is specifically to kind of remember and to support victims and survivors of the October 7th attack that happened in Israel. Go to artsabox.com and type in Snipe20 at checkout, and that is where you'll get 20% off of one box or 30% off of a yearly subscription, which is a lot of money actually off of that box. First off, we got right here some date and cocoa balls filled with hazelnut butter. It's like a less sweet Reese's. Here, this is called an Ahava stone, or in other words, love stone. And what it says there in Hebrew, it says, at the edge of the light, there is more light. So it's saying, even when you think the light is gone, there is more light to come. God is still good. This might be my favorite thing because it's what I buy every time I go to Israel. And I'm so glad this is in the box. This is a winter infusion. And so you put it in a glass, you put it with hot water, and then you can either cool it down for a cold drink or you can keep it hot for a tea. And that is amazing. Last time we went to Israel, I took like 5 pounds home with us of different infusions from the market in Jerusalem. I just want to shout out Artsabox. They're amazing. Not only do they do an amazing business in and of itself, but also they're helping local businesses in Israel. So it's really, really helping local businesses to stay alive. And then on top of that, they're helping to support some of these victims from October 7th. So really, really, really cool stuff. I know a lot of people in the community have gotten their Archer boxes already. If you haven't gotten it yet, or if you haven't signed up for a yearly subscription or gotten even one box, use my code. It's 20% off of one box, 30% off of an annual subscription. That's artsabox.com. Use code SNIPE20. And yeah.
Right. So, well, just be clear, I'm not directing on The Chosen. I like logistics. So make sure that's clear. But as far as directing, I love action, actually. So I would honestly love to be a second unit director. So for instance, most Marvel movies are really big budget films. The main unit director is just working with the actors and getting the dialogue and all the specific, very important scenes. The second unit director is doing all the explosions, throwing cars, and all the madness, all the fun stuff. Honestly, that's what I'd love to do. I love action. I've got, when I made back 10 years ago when I was making my own short films, I put a lot of action to them. And that's what I love to do. I feel like I'm good at action. So yeah, the opposite of Dallas. Like Dallas loves that dialogue, digging into like that and all that stuff. And Dallas hates action. And so, which is why hopefully one day I'll make a good second unit director for him if he ever does any action. But there you go. I love the action. I love doing that stuff and finding the right camera angle, what works, and working with the actors that way. So anything so for example, Mission Impossible movies, I love those movies. Yeah, those are a big inspiration. The James Bond movies, I love those. That kind of stuff for sure.
Super cool, awesome. JF asks, what is something funny that happened on the Promised Land set? I know you're there for the pilot episode at least. And how did you know you wanted to get into this career path, etc.? So those are kind of two different questions there.
Yeah, well, I think what we talked about earlier, I already touched on how I got into the career path, or, definitely I felt called into it. Started out acting and then just felt called right into it. Promised Land, I can't think of a funny story right off the bat. I think of more of an impactful one first. But it was funny every day because, like, for instance, Brad is so fun. Like, you got to meet the actors when you went out this last time.
Yeah,
All the
yeah.
actors on Promised Land are the most fun, silly dudes because they're also on Chosen now too, and they're like a little group of like all the Pharisees and Sadducees, and they, man, when they get together, they're just cutting up and they are nonstop fun. So I just remember
Right.
lots of moments like that for sure with like Korah, Jasisi, and like and even Wazim playing Moses on Promised Land. There's those guys cutting up all the time. But
Yeah.
what I remember the most, honestly, when we were shooting the pilot is, I'm not even remember. Well, we did it in 5 days, I think. But we saw some horrible weather, like just out of nowhere, not on the radar, nothing. Also, this huge storm would just roll in out of nowhere, and we'd lose 2 to 3 hours. And I just remember we still made it. We still made each one of our days somehow, even though I think it was maybe 3 or 4 storms that would just pop up out of nowhere and shut us down for 2 to 3 hours. And we'd figure out a new plan. Mitch and I would work together and figure out a new plan of how we're going to attack it and get it done in a short amount of time. I just remember that happening and just being kind of blown away with being able to finish, which was really cool.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm looking forward to the Promised Land for sure. Mitch is doing an amazing job.
Yeah,
I
it's
made a whole
gonna be
video about that earlier, so check that out if you haven't seen it already. Jasmine asks, is there a solid premiere date for the new season? Well, that's already answered thing. The premiere date is going to be March 27th, I think. And then the rest of them will be coming out in April. So we've already talked about that on the channel. All right, moving over to YouTube.
You know better than me, too.
We got some questions over here on YouTube now. Let me pull this over.
Oh, yeah, I saw a couple good ones here on YouTube I liked.
Yeah, if you see any in the chat that you want to grab, go ahead and feel free to grab those too.
Yeah, I thought a fun one was how many points per game did you average in high school and college? I think in high school I averaged like 15 to 17 points, somewhere in there. I was the point guard, and then in college I was shooting guard, and I averaged 0 points.
Nice.
I sat on the bench a lot in college.
That's awesome. My wife was a hardcore basketball player too. Before she dropped out of college. But yeah, let's see here. Zane just says he met you at Chosen Con. You're a great guy, and he was excited to meet you. You were very gracious with your time, so thank you for that. He has a couple questions. He says, let's see, how's the Chosen gifted you in showcasing your skills as a filmmaker? Are there any scenes that you worked on that you're proud of, especially?
Oh man, like 1,000% is my first answer to that question. We have seen every challenge imaginable on The Chosen. I feel like, especially logistically, as a first AD, I feel like I can accomplish any film now that is thrown at me because of The Chosen. I feel like we've seen it all. For instance, when we did the Walking on Water, spoiler if you haven't seen it, by the way, a little late for that, right? The walk in the water. None of us had ever done water before. Akis, the cinematographer, me, or Dallas. None of us had ever. Most of the time you have somebody in your upper position that has at least tried that. It was all new to us, so we were all learning on the fly, and it went very smoothly, honestly. And there's just been so many instances like that. And season 2, working on the water when we first were doing the fishing stuff and the miracle of the fish. All that was new to us too, and trying to work on water and land and them on the boats. I remember doing an all-nighter, like out in the water. I had the suit on, and I'm out in the water, and, like, pushing the boats around all night for like 10 hours. And then of course recent days were the feeding the 5,000. So we've handled so many background, up to thousands of people, 600 every day for 3 weeks. Those kind of accomplishments would never happen on any other show. They're just incredible. So it feels like I could go work on any movie or television show now and go, oh yeah, I've done that. And not to brag about it, but it's like, well, I've done it. We've done everything on The Chosen at this point, So for sure, it has helped me master what I do, and I think that's why the phone is ringing a lot, and other companies are wanting to work with me because they see what The Chosen is accomplishing. And so filmmakers that see that go, oh my goodness, the logistics they pulled off. So then they look up the first assistant director when they normally wouldn't, because they're like, how'd they pull this off? And I'm getting phone calls like, how'd you do this? So that's
awesome.
So for sure, I think that speaks in itself. There was another question there, right?
Just a scene that you're particularly proud of.
Oh, yeah. I mean, so many of those. Walking on Water, which was a huge accomplishment and was really cool logistically, of course. And
what about a non-spoiler one from season 5?
a non-spoiler one
from season 5? Maybe something that was in the trailer or something that's been announced. If there's anything from those that yeah.
Yeah, so what you saw in the trailer, I don't know how much I can share, but what you saw in the trailer, the logistics we pulled off for that too, again, it was I have talked about this at another conference or something, but we basically at one point filming, you had to pull in every single department. Like, so normally when you're filming a shot, you don't need every single department for that shot. But there were some shots last season that involved every single department we have. And to bring all of those together to make that shot happen is extremely complicated, or there's a high probability that something's going to go wrong. And it went so smooth. It went incredibly smooth for all those shots where we needed, 15 different department heads involved with what's going into the camera. Like it was honestly incredible. And so that was a cool experience. And to also answer that question, like artistically too, of what I've learned. So I've learned all that stuff logistically too. What's been really cool too, though, is I've been with Dallas from the beginning of this journey, and I have learned so much from him as a director. So if I do want to direct my own stuff one day, or do get that opportunity, I have seen him go from season 1, and I mean, he was great season 1. He wasn't bad then, of course, but to see him go from season 1 to now, he has grown so much, and he's so talented and so good at what he does. And I've been a front row seat for that for 6 years, to watch this guy work and go, oh, that's a good choice. Oh, I see what you did there. That's good. That makes that scene so much better. So not only have I learned all this stuff logistically that's complicated, but also as an artist to go, oh, that's good. I'm going to take that. I'm going to store that one away. If I ever get that opportunity, I'm going to do that. I'm going to do that too, And the same working with Akis, the cinematographer, because I started out in camera, and so I have a heart for camera, and I love cinematography. And to watch Aki's work, who is incredibly talented, same thing. I have learned so much from him. I feel like, obviously I could not light a scene and make it as good as him, but I feel like I could walk into a room and make it look very good just because I've seen him do it so many times. Right. So yeah, that's been a cool journey.
Let's enter this one from the chat. They're also in the YouTube community tab. So 3 Days Ministry says they're working on a live action film about the Last Supper. Can you please give them pointers on how to do certain things, like how to make it look like a biblical room? The first part that I would say is just do a ton of research. A lot of these biblical projects, from my point of view, get a lot of stuff very, very wrong historically. But Adam, I don't know if you have anything to share for this one.
That's a complicated thing. I think it's tough because we honestly, I would say we know what we're supposed to do, but it's not always that easy, right? For example, we know that most likely the disciples were supposed to be sitting on the floor, not in chairs, right? But filming that was very difficult. Trying to film them on the floor just added so much complication to where it wasn't worth the hassle to try to make that historically accurate. So it was like the chairs made, I can't even tell you how many hours it saved and how many shots how much it saved. And I get it. It's not right. It's not historically accurate for that, but it's almost, I don't want to say it's not worth it, because again, that's not my call, right? I don't make those creative calls. I'm just giving my opinion on this, but some of that stuff to be historically accurate can be so difficult that costs you so much more money and so much more time that it's not worth it for the people that it's going to upset for not being perfectly accurate. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I totally get that, but it gives me more content, so keep on doing stuff wrong so I can call it out.
Well, we will, because I mean, I don't want to say at the end of the day it's easier, because that just sounds like a cop out, but I mean, sometimes it really is sometimes it can be such a big deal that it's like we gotta do this different. Yeah.
No, there are definitely some parts of The Chosen that are so vastly more accurate than anything else that's ever come out that it's incredible. And then there are times when you can tell, like, okay, Dallas definitely made a choice here to either make it easier or to make it possible, right? So like one of the greatest things from season 4 was Caesarea Philippi. I mean, I literally pulled up a picture that I took at Caesarea Philippi and laid it over, the scene from The Chosen. It's almost a 1-to-1 perfect recreation of it, right? And so
shout out to our art team, because they work. They do, our art director, production designer James. They work so hard on trying to make it as accurate as possible every time. Right. They really do. And sometimes we just can't do it.
Yeah. All right, final question, unless someone in the chat has something really, really good. What is your favorite part of the work that you get to do? So you have a lot of different hats that you're kind of wearing on set, but what is the thing that you gravitate towards the most or that you love doing the most?
So I think I kind of touched on this earlier, but what's so great about it is I'm in the center of it, is that I am in the center of greatness, of working with Dallas in the moment that he's making the show, with Akis as a cinematographer, as they're growing and becoming better, more talented filmmakers. I am right in the thick of it and constantly learning. So I love being in the middle of that moment and the middle of like making it happen. And then some of my absolute favorite moments, which are very few, but there's few times where I can provide a problem to a logistical problem, but it also solves a creative problem. So like if I can do something that maybe saves us 20 minutes or saves us an hour, but it also makes the story better or creative, those moments are incredible. When I get to go, well, what if we did this? Because most of the time, I mean, 99% of the time, Dallas is making the call for sure, or Akis is making the call of like something. And very few times do I step in and go, well, what about this? Because again, those guys are incredibly smart. So there's not a lot of things I can offer up that they don't know, right? But every once in a while, very rarely, I get to offer up one little thing, and if they take it, and most of the time, it also helps me out logistically, saves us time, but then it also helps us out creatively. And those moments are those are like, oh, that was awesome, amazing, thank you, Lord. Those are cool.
Yeah, I can't imagine. I mean, I can see it for sure. Like just having those moments of like God speaks through you to the show to be able to change something to have that work out. It's got to be an amazing feeling for sure. So really, really cool stuff. Yeah, absolutely. Well, Adam, I just want to thank you for your time. Thank you for answering these questions, and any last words to the fans here.
Yeah, well, honestly, I'd like to answer one more question if that's all right.
Yeah, go ahead.
That I saw. And it's actually the number one question I get. Like when I speak at conferences and go to other things, or even when I've been on podcasts and stuff, the number one question I get is, how do you balance both? How do you balance family and how do you balance the film world? And I saw somebody put that in here, and I've I've answered that question over years, and it continually changes over the years. But basically, I look at it like focus. For instance, when I'm doing The Chosen, it's 6 months at a time, and I can naturally lean towards a workaholic and work so much. So, but what I try to do is when I'm not working, I put that same focus into my family. So for instance, and I have to make sacrifices. For instance, I've turned down, so Chosen finished August 1st, finished shooting. And I'm not taking any other films until they start back up next year. And I've turned down several projects for that. So I've turned down several projects to stay home. Turned down lots of money, unfortunately, in those projects to be home. But that's but I had done Christmas pageant last year. So I did Chosen, Christmas pageant, and then Chosen. I did all that with Dallas too. So he's been busier than me, but I've done all those with him too, and been extremely busy and gone a lot as well. And that was in Canada, so nowhere close to home. So that was a lot. And so I've taken this time to be home, and then I try to take that focus that I take to work and bring it home. And I try to, when I'm at home, turn the phone off, turn the things off, and just focus on my kids and focus on my wife and put 100% effort into my family the same as I would at work, which I think is harder for men in general, honestly, or very motivated men that want to chase their careers, which I do, and want to be at the top, and want those things. So that's been a big learning curve for me, and it's a continual learning curve. So it's like, it's a different balance, it's not a balance, because the balance looks like this sometimes, but then I have to take it and put it the other way at other times. So,
yeah. Awesome, man. Well, I am grateful to call you a friend. I'm grateful that you're in the position that you're in. I'm grateful that you and Dallas have been able to make this show what it is. And I think without you, I think it would be in a much different state. And so I'm very, very thankful that God has molded you into the person that you are and brought you to the place that you are. It's been really, really cool to get to know you, not only through this interview, but also just through, randomly God putting us together. So I'm really looking forward to the future of the Brosen and in your career and all of that. So thanks, man.
Thank you, man. Thanks for having me. It was a lot of fun. Enjoyed it.
Yeah. Awesome. Sick. Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. That's pretty much going to be the end of the live stream tonight, everybody. Unless you have any big questions or anything else like that. We're going to be doing a little bit of a shorter thing. Remember, we've got the live stream on Tuesday from Dallas, and so we're going to have some stuff from that, so keep an eye out for that. But man, really appreciate you coming on, and hope you have a great night.
Thanks, you too.
Awesome.